Because of why I search the deep through endless nights, no time to sleep. The call inside I can't deny. I'll find the light because of why.
Hey everyone, and welcome! So, have you ever been scrolling through flight deals looking for a trip to Asia, and then you see it? A flight to Singapore for a price that just seems, well, wrong, like suspiciously cheap. You start asking yourself, wait a minute, how can a flight halfway across the globe cost less than a new phone? Well, today we're going to break down exactly how that's possible.
I mean, this comment from a Reddit user just says it all, right? When you see a price like that for a flight that's over 16 hours long, your first thought is, no way, that's got to be a typo. But it's not. It's actually the result of a really fascinating mix of business strategy, geography, and some seriously clever tech. So that really is the million-dollar question we're tackling. How on earth do airlines even make money on a ticket that seems impossibly cheap? Turns out the answer has three main parts, and we're going to peel back each layer one by one.
All right, first up, let's talk about the most obvious reason you see those jaw-droppingly low prices, the budget airline effect. And we're not just talking about a few small airlines here. This has been a massive shift that has totally reshaped the entire airline industry, especially in Asia.
The whole idea behind a low-cost carrier, or an LCC, is actually pretty simple. They unbundle everything. Basically, they strip the flying experience down to the absolute bare bones. Your ticket gets you a seat and a small bag, period. Everything else, checking a bag, getting a hot meal, even picking your own seat, is an add-on. It costs extra. So you're only paying for what you actually want. And what's really interesting is you can see just how fierce the competition is right here in the details. You've got huge players like Scoot and Jetstar, which are actually owned by premium airlines, going head-to-head with giants like AirAsia. They all do the unbundling thing, but they're constantly fighting over the little things. You know, maybe AirAsia's meal is way cheaper, but Scoot lets you bring a heavier carry-on. This constant battle for our business is what keeps those starting ticket prices so low.
And this quote right here really drives the point home. The whole budget airline model became so powerful that even a super premium carrier like Singapore Airlines had to jump into the game by creating its own, Scoot. They knew that if they didn't have an option for the price-conscious traveler, someone else would, and they'd be leaving a huge chunk of the market on the table. Okay, but cheap flights aren't just about the airlines. It's also about the airport itself. I mean, Singapore didn't just stumble into being a popular layover spot. Oh no. It was a very deliberate strategic plan to build it into a global aviation powerhouse.
Get this. Back in 2018, Singapore's Changi Airport was ranked the 8th most connected mega hub in the entire world. What that means is it's a critical crossroads for global air travel, a place where just a massive number of flight paths cross. And whenever you have that much traffic all in one place, you get something that's really good for us travelers: competition. Just take a look at this map. It shows you everything you need to know. Changi is this central point, this crossroads. You've got tons of routes pouring in from Europe, crisscrossing with flights heading all over Asia and connecting down to Australia. All this density means you have dozens of airlines all fighting for the same passengers on the same routes. And what happens when companies fight for your money? Prices go down.
But, you know, being a huge hub is kind of a double-edged sword. The big pro, for us, is that intense competition. That's awesome for our wallets. The con, though, is that flying out of a world-class, award-winning airport like Changi isn't free. There are pretty high airport taxes and fees, and those get baked right into your ticket price, which can sometimes eat into those savings a bit.
So, we've talked about the airlines and the airport. But now, let's get into the really sneaky part, the invisible force that can make a ticket price change in the time it takes you to hit the refresh button on your browser. Yep, we're talking about the algorithm.
This Reddit user absolutely hit the nail on the head. We're not talking about some person sitting in an office deciding what a flight should cost. No, we're talking about incredibly complex software that is constantly running, playing this high-stakes balancing act to squeeze every last dollar out of every single flight.
The fancy term for this is yield management. The best way to think about it is like this. An airline seat is like a piece of fresh fruit. The second that plane takes off, any empty seat on it has spoiled. It's worthless. So the airline's goal is to sell every single one of those seats for the highest price someone is willing to pay before that happens.
And to pull this off, the software basically divides all of us into two main groups. First, you've got the leisure traveler. These folks are price sensitive, always hunting for a deal. They're flexible, they can fly on a Tuesday in October, no problem, and they book way in advance. Then you have the business traveler. They are time sensitive. They have to be at a meeting on Monday, and the cost is secondary. They are not flexible, and they often book at the last minute. The algorithm's entire job is to figure out how to sell seats to both of these people. And here's how it works. First, the system looks at tons of historical data to predict demand. Then, way in advance, it opens up a bunch of cheap seats to attract all of us bargain-hunting leisure travelers. That locks in some early revenue. Then, as the flight date gets closer and those cheap seats start to sell out, the algorithm automatically starts jacking up the prices because it knows the last-minute bookers are probably business travelers who are willing to pay a lot more. It's a pretty clever game.
All right, so we've looked at the budget airlines, the super hub airport strategy, and those sneaky pricing algorithms. Let's put all the pieces of this puzzle together and see the big picture.
The secret formula really comes down to these four things working in perfect harmony. You've got the constant downward price pressure from the boom in budget airlines. You've got Singapore's status as a hyper-competitive global hub. You've got those super smart algorithms playing their pricing games. And finally, the whole system is designed to sell the same flight to different people, like us, at totally different prices. So in the end, there's really no one single reason. It truly is a perfect storm. You've got intense competition, a strategically perfect location, and incredibly powerful technology all crashing together to create this environment where, yes, you can actually find those unbelievably cheap fares. And hopefully, now that you know how it all works, you'll be even better at finding them yourself. So now you're armed with the inside scoop. And that makes me curious. What is the absolute best, most amazing flight deal you've ever managed to find? Drop a comment below and let us know. Thanks so much for hanging out. And if you like this deep dive, do us a favor and hit that like button, share it, and subscribe for more. We'll see you on the next one.